Hello, I'm Nathan P. Butler, author of a Saga on home video and host of From the Star Wars Home Video Library here on YouTube, and this is Star Wars Home Video Year by Year. This time we take a look at 1987. It's a big year for Star Wars, right? It is the 10th anniversary of A New Hope hitting theaters, before it had the subtitle on it. And Star Wars Home Video is going to celebrate in a big way. Just kidding. Star Wars Home Video almost never celebrates in almost any way for any anniversary. It's actually really freaking frustrating. There are some things to talk about for 1987 though, so let's dive into them. But first, how about some context? We know it's the 10th anniversary. That itself is a big deal. This is also the year that the first Star Wars convention is held in Los Angeles, not referred to at all as like Star Wars Celebration, but an actual Star Wars dedicated convention in Los Angeles to celebrate the 10th anniversary. This is also the year that Star Tours first launches. This is the year that the Lucasfilm Fan Club magazine launches, what will eventually become Star Wars Insider. It is also the year when the Star Comics series from Marvel, the Droids and Ewoks Kiddie Fair stuff that started the previous year, will wind up ending, but we will see the launch of a new Star Wars comic series from Blackthorn Publishing, Star Wars 3D. Yes, with the red and cyan 3D glasses. Again, defying the idea that this was a dark age. But of course, the biggest thing that kept Star Wars alive during the so-called Dark Age was the Star Wars role-playing game from West End Games, and its first edition also launches here in 1987. On a related note, kind of tangentially, but not so much so tangential for collectors, yes, this is also the year that Spaceballs hit theaters. We will see a buttload of Spaceballs, the home video release, for decades, most of which will reuse the same freaking disc over and over again. For what it's worth, I do only plan to hit Spaceballs a couple more times when it first hits home video, and when that disc gets released, that will be re-released for many, many, many years to come, just to note that absurd moment for collectors. But what do we have for Star Wars Home Video in 1987? Not freaking much, but you may recall that I've talked a bit about how if you're going to get any of the copies of The Empire Strikes Back since 1984, from basically 1984 up to about 1989, or Return of the Jedi, 86 to 89, or A New Hope, once it got that digitally mastered new audio and the updated cover with digitally mastered on it starting at 86, any of those from 86 to 89 as well. Basically, the way you would tell the difference between versions is there a trailer on it? What kind of trailer? Is it before the film, or is it after the film? And so on. And one of the things about those trailers that I've mentioned is that there's a 10th anniversary trailer as one of those variations that opens with a little animation thing, a little narration over the animation, and then a trailer for the entire trilogy, which still at this point cannot be bought as a set in the United States. Well, that 10th anniversary continues beyond just the branding of the trailer on the cassettes onto the branding of the packaging, but only in shrink wrap. I have very few items that I've kept in shrink wrap. I have the first LaserDisc release, a version of that still in shrink wrap in my closet, a couple other things like some old steelbooks and whatnot. But this is one of the only VHS items I still have actually in the shrink wrap because of the sticker here. It's basically the 1986 version, nothing fancy about it otherwise, still has that 1984 copyright date that's going to confuse people because it's packaging copyright and it's going to drive people nuts later when they try, for instance, to sell these or grade things in the future, and the grading companies have no idea what they're talking about, nor do the sellers, so they call it 1984. Deep breath. But along with that familiar packaging and whatnot, we have this sticker that is the logo of the Star Wars 10th anniversary. So any copies you have in shrink wrap that still have the sticker on it, that is going to be a copy from 87. Easy to identify. Also on VHS in the US in 87, we have the last of the VHS releases of that double feature of The Making of Star Wars and SPFX The Empire Strikes Back. Now in standard packaging, and oddly this is the one that tends to be hardest to find, at least in good condition. It's basically the same double feature we've seen before, but previously we saw it in drawer boxes, and instead now VHS here, CBS Fox Video, just in a standard package in 87. For anything else noteworthy, we really need to jump out of the United States, and there's a couple things to look at here. I guess 3 things total, I would say, to look at. A couple from Japan, 1 from the UK. We'll hit the UK first. The UK market was a little bit different than the US in terms of how it operated things like direct purchases, rental stores, regular retail, that sort of thing. But the first sell-through copy, as they are called, of A New Hope, hits VHS in the UK in 1987. That is the all-time great movies version of A New Hope. Over in Japan, we see the end of an era with the last of their VHD releases. In this case, Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure gets to be the last of the VHD releases. Again, we saw the original trilogy, we saw the making of double feature, and now we're seeing Caravan of Courage, and that is it. So it's a pretty quick little collection to get, I guess, because there's not as much to collect, just like CED, though bear in mind they're a little tougher to find at this point here than CED would be. But VHD is over for Star Wars, and again, CBS Fox Video, not MGM UA Home Video, which is what we will see for the US in 1990. And of course, the big thing coming out of Japan this year was the big thing for Star Wars Home Video this year, because just putting a sticker for the 10th anniversary is not really a big thing. In Japan, they continued that special collection set. I did just take the obi off of this so that it's easier to see the actual cover here. We have the Empire Strikes Back special collection release, and to finish out the trilogy, Return of the Jedi special collection release. And again, what makes the special collection special? They are the first time you can get the films in widescreen. Now, it is widescreen letterbox, which means that it fits on a 4:3 TV. It's a 4:3 image with the widescreen image across the middle, and you got black bars on top and bottom, and in these cases, Japanese subtitles within the black bar directly underneath the film. But you can actually watch them in widescreen at home, and they are CAV standard play discs, only about half an hour per side, so 3 discs per film, but better features on certain LaserDisc players of the time. Definitely a premium product and considered one of the better ways to watch them even to this day among Star Wars home video collectors. That said, I would note, of course, today, if you have a widescreen television, which is most televisions today, and you hook up a LaserDisc player to it, whether it's with an adapter or directly, we have ours hooked up directly to a smaller TV, actually in our kitchen of all places here to watch LaserDiscs. Just bear in mind that with this being a 4:3 letterboxed image with the black bars as part of the image itself, if you play it on a modern television, a widescreen television is going to have a centered image, the 4:3 part, with the widescreen image and the black bars on top and bottom, but then that's not going to be as wide as your TV screen, so there'll be big black bars on either side as well, unless your TV has an automatic or manual, or I guess your player has an automatic or manual zoom feature perhaps. Usually it's got to be on the television because a LaserDisc player wouldn't necessarily have it. That can basically zoom it in to show you that widescreen image by basically lining up with the right and left edges. Ours can do that, many can't. Just be aware of that if you're going to try to pick these up to watch on a modern television. You either need an old school 4:3 television, or you need something probably that'll zoom in. Otherwise, you got a teeny tiny image with black bars on top and bottom and left and right, just completely surrounded, small on your screen. But that is the nature of letterboxing in that era relative to modern TVs, not something specific to Star Wars. But alas, one thing seems missing in 1987. It's an anniversary. Why isn't there a freaking boxed set in the United States? Well, that will be addressed, sort of, in the next year, but not with a box, just with a crappy little paper band. We'll see that next time as we check out 1988.